and share that you are there and you are available, which is really important, especially if you're a job seeker. Hey y'all, this is Young from Career School. So one of the questions I get a lot from people is, how do you do informational calls? How do you do a not awkward informational call and stay in touch with those people? Obviously, this is a really important first step of building your professional network. And you want to make sure you want to make a good impression and not have an awkward conversation with those people, right? So today, I want to share you 6 tips of how you can have a successful informational call with people, which can lead to having a great relationship and ultimately leading you to get into your dream company. Let's get right into it. Number 1, don't be afraid to ask. It can be super uncomfortable to reach out to people you already know, or people who you met on LinkedIn, or just a random person on LinkedIn for an informational call. But keep in mind that most of the people who get these requests feel very flattered by just getting asked for these kind of calls. So don't think this as cold calling people. So think of it as asking advice from people who have gone through the process before you did. Number 2, do your research. Now you have set up an informational call. It's time for you to do your part. I would always strongly suggest that you do your research about the person as well as the company that you're interested in prior to having those phone calls. This is the least you can do to show respect to people who spends about 30 minutes of their time to chat with you and listen to you and share insights about their experience. This will help you tremendously when you're having a conversation with these people, because your conversation will naturally flow because, well, you know them and you know the company that you are interested in. Number 3, prepare your questions. It's really important that the conversation flows naturally, either if it's an informational call or an actual interview. But that doesn't really mean that you should not prepare for questions when you're having these kind of informational calls, right? I was always prepared with a list of questions that I wanted to ask these people when I was having those info calls. And it really helped me tremendously. Obviously, I didn't really ask them all the questions in the lists, but it made the conversation much more natural because I had questions that I wanted to ask in mind. And whenever one conversation was over, I was able to switch to another question to resume the conversation, meaning that it gives you a really good place to start with. Number 4, have a conversation. I'll have to admit, the biggest mistake I made when I was having my first informational calls with people was that I was just basically asking questions on the list, and I was just going through the list one by one, asking questions until that 30 minutes time was up. But I eventually found out that this is not the way you should have informational calls. It was more about a conversation, and it's more about trying to build a relationship with the person that you're talking with, not really about the questions you ask. Of course, it's really important that you get your questions answered and get to know more about the company and the person. But remember that it's more important to actually build some sort of a relationship with the person you're talking with. Also, being on the other side, I get a lot of information call requests, and whenever I do have these calls, it's just sometimes really awkward when someone just starts asking a lot of questions, which seems to be super generic, aka found on Google questions. And it's just best that you have a naturally flowing conversation. At the end of the day, we're trying to build a relationship. We're not trying to get questions answered. Number 5, keep it short. So you might be wondering, what's the best length of these info calls? I would say around 20 minutes to maybe 25 minutes would be the best. And the mistakes that I kind of made before was I set up 30 minutes call with people, and I just tried to fully take advantage of that 30 minutes without even giving a second to breathe for the person I was chatting with. But first of all, please be respectful for their time. because they're spending a great amount of 30 minutes that they could be spending on their work or a side project just like this or with their family. So be mindful and respect their time. And I think a good way to do it is when you are in the 20 minutes mark within your 30 minutes call, give them a reminder saying that, hey, that I'm mindful of the person's time, that we have about 10 minutes left. And lastly, number 6, follow up with the folks that you have chatted with. One thing that I did better than others in my MBA class, well, it might be, I guess, but like I was really good at following up with people. I think I mentioned this before, but I basically followed up with everyone in my lists in like every 4 or 6 weeks time. This gave me a better understanding and gave me a opportunity to build better relationship with people, not just those kind of relationship where you just ask for referrals and it's just over when you're done with it. More of a relationship that will last longer. So it's really important that these relationships really last and like you have those good relationships, because like once you are in an industry, like usually people just stay in it. And you'll notice that like the people that you chat with, the people that you have relationship with, they're the ones who'll be in the industry forever. Like almost for sure. Just knowing the right people here in the US especially is really important. I would strongly suggest that you keep up with that network by following up, telling them that, hey, this is what's happening with my life. This has been what's been happening with, my family. This is the book I recently read and stuff like that. Just to give them, tell them and share that you are here, you are there, and you are available, which is really important, especially if you're a job seeker. All right, that was it for today. I really appreciate you watching it. I hope this helped you through your job searching or just general networking. Please leave any comments, anything that you want below here with the content you want me to cover or anything, right? And also reach out to me on LinkedIn. I might not be able to respond to you right away, but I will always respond to you at some point. So please subscribe, like, and share with your friends. And stay tuned for more content like this. Thank you.